Mr. Demure.
I see you're punctual as ever, Jay.
It's not like we're saving lives or anything.
Well, seeing as how you're late by close to 30 minutes, you have very little room.
Hey! I've got the worst fucking headache this morning. The last thing I need is you and I here before I have at least one cup of coffee in my system.
Very well. You're entitled no reprieve this morning, but I will grant you one on one condition.
Anything to end your constant nagging.
You know, I could report this and have you placed on suspension for up to 3 days. You realize that, right?
But I won't.
Really? Who's gonna take my spot? Because I don't see a line of people waiting outside the door to work with you. Not a lot of applicants waiting for this job, eh, Ribery?
Be assured, Mr. Demure, everyone is replaceable, even you. Now, had this been an isolated incident, I would have thought nothing of it, but this tardiness has been occurring with alarming frequency lately.
If I've been less than prompt at times, I blame it on the extenuating circumstances of our current assignment. This job can be quite taxing, especially as of late.
I'm well aware, Demure. I'm well aware of that. In fact, myself, I would like nothing more than to walk through that blasted door and never set foot in this place again. It's this, prison of the mind.
Certainly a fitting title for this godforsaken place. I've always thought of it more of a purgatory of sorts.
It'll have been 10 years we've been working here. In 3 days from now. But it's not up to us where we're assigned, just like it's not up to us when we arrive for work.
Alright, I get the point. Sometimes it's as if my whole body shudders when I walk through that door. Fucking hate being trapped in here with my thoughts for hours on end. My only real crime is that I must subconsciously create these situations where arriving to work on time is challenging.
The diligent will take control, but the lazy will be put to forced labor. Remember that. Just be diligent. These last few days of exile will pass swiftly before us.
I agree, but the practice of such a principle can be exceptionally challenging, given our current assignment.
It's not merely a principle, Demure. It's a requirement. Now, don't be late again, or there'll be consequences. If you can guarantee me that you'll be prompt from this point on, I won't report you. In fact, I'll even adjust your time card so it won't reflect your tardiness this morning.
Fair enough, fair enough. Let's just go about our day. Business as usual.
Fine by me. I'll get you up to speed as soon as you're ready. Oh, and would you be so kind as to flip on the viewer before you sit down? Still with me, Demir?
Yeah.
Alright. Blood pressure. 133/90. That's slightly elevated, but no cause for immediate alarm. Heart rate is 67 BPM. And respiratory rate, looking at about 18 breaths per minute.
Yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but I'm looking at this biannual nutrition report. It's not looking too pretty.
Okay.
Malnutrition has resulted in a vitamin A and iron deficiency.
Do you really think iron deficiency is enough to put him at risk for something like anemia?
Anemia is not really what I'm worried about here. It's these dangerously low levels of vitamin A. They're not boosted dramatically in the near future. We're running the real risk of potential partial blindness.
Well, I understand that, but honestly, what recourse do we have? I mean, we already have limited access to adequate food sources as it is.
I'm gonna tell you what I've been telling you since day one. We need to divert his direction to a location more suitable to his unique needs, both mental and physical.
We are not. I repeat, we are not giving up. Not when we're this close. So, I feel like our professional relationship could benefit greatly from a little, constructive competition. Wouldn't you agree, Demir?
I'd certainly agree, but what you have in mind, if I may ask?
Well, I recently came into possession of a game I feel would suit our specific situation magically. If you'd indulge me.
I haven't seen one of these since 2076 at least.
I think you misunderstand me at times, my friend. See, I too appreciate the little joys of life. My mind isn't always preoccupied with that which is difficult to attain. Unless that which is difficult to attain is also a simple joy of life. I'll tell you what, oblige me with one of those cigarettes, you can have the first move.
Certainly, nothing would please me more. Blood pressure's elevated at 145/99, heart rate 97 BPM, respiratory rate, fuck this entirely.
Respiratory rate, come on, what is it? I'm not about to submit a partial report, now do your damn job and tell me. Now!
Shit, it's fucking 34 to 45 breaths a minute, depending on the level of pain, which appears to be fluctuating. The initial pain spike is partially subsided, but could still create potential complications.
Okay, let's just keep our heads cool, alright? This is a minor setback. We'll be back on track in no time. I mean, hell, a few needles, they're not going to do permanent damage, but it will slow us down temporarily.
A few needles? It says here that he got impaled by a Grusania ageria cactus. These needles are like taking a nail through the floor. 4 inches long and excruciatingly painful. This is no minor setback. Jesus, we're still solid 2 days out as it is.
Well, I know, all right. I know, okay? But listen, Asher is resilient, and I believe that we can get through this without any further complications. Now, granted, we can't have any other accidents like this, or we're gonna miss the deadline. But as it is, I think we'll be okay.
Don't you see, though? That's just what I fucking hate about it. You're so concerned with deadlines and destinations and motherfucking fantasies that you don't see what you're doing to him right now. And at the end of the day, we're the only ones responsible. Did you see what he thought he saw out there? Asher is hallucinating now. He thought he saw his daughter a solid 2 days early.
Don't forget, I've been here with you since the very fucking beginning. Since that 10-year-old child escaped a fate worse than death. I mean, do you even remember any of that at all? Or is your existence too clouded by your own existence?
Yeah, I remember when the whole fucking world fell apart. Yeah, it's been 14,609 days since they all died. 1 billion people just dropped dead. How could all those doctors and scientists have known what they had created until they were all infected?
You're right about one thing, sir. You're correct. A great many people died that day. A great many people died. But not all of them.
Yeah, sure, not all of them, but the fucking nuclear war, nuclear winter, and fossil fuel crisis wiped out the rest. We haven't even seen a human being in 10 years. Not one. So, could he be the only one left?
The odds of him being the only one left are so astronomically small that even entertaining that notion is absolutely absurd. The fact that you could even believe that is ridiculous!
If there were other survivors, as you presume, then why haven't we seen one in so long? If there were other humans out there, we surely would have seen one by now. The sooner we come to terms with reality, the sooner we can redirect this suicide mission.
We are staying the course. You understand me? We're gonna finish this! We're gonna finish the cross.
Well, this has been an eventful day. Let's wrap this up though so we can get the hell out of this dungeon. Exit vitals are holding steady at close levels to this morning. The pain from his injury has sufficiently subsided to allow for REM sleep. I find it hard to believe he'll have anything in that trap tomorrow though.
Well, we'll just have to find out in the morning, won't we? So I'm gonna make sure to have those updated AT projections ready to go in the morning. So just make sure you're on time for that so we can go over it, okay? Oh, and Demure, if you're not gonna show up on time, just don't bother showing up at all.
If it were only that easy.
Mr. Demure, such a pleasure to see you here on time. And full of enthusiasm, I assume.
Our relationship entails a great many things, my good friend, but to refer to any of it with an agreeable disposition as well, for a lack of a better word,
Arbitrary. I understand the challenges that you must face every day in your attempt to make it to work on time. It must cause you some form of duress. However, I do expect a certain level of performance in regards to your mental faculty. Furthermore, to suggest that I cannot find joy or pleasure or meaning in our current arrangement would infer that you know my thoughts and motivations, which clearly you do not.
8 a.m., and this is how you want to start off the day. Your attempts at compliments and reassurance are clearly a passive-aggressive approach to relay your thinly veiled insults. Never underestimate one's opponent, my dear friend. In a time of war, but even more so in a time of peace.
A peace offering, perhaps? Now, I will admit that you are hardly the most ideal of candidates for the task to which we've been assigned. But I have grown very fond of you and your argumentative positions, which I will also admit challenge me and are occasionally with some merit.
And at last, a grain of truth from the lips of a man whose very existence, it lies in fallacious reasoning and misinformation.
Misinformation. In every lie, there exists a speck of truth. In every truth, there exists a fissure of lies. My friend, I've gained an appreciation for the opportunity we can offer each other. Weight against weight, it would seem.
Of that, I am also in agreement. And I will apologize if at times my character is, too confrontational and brash.
Well, on that note, shall we begin?
Certainly. Would you be so kind to do the honors this time?
Absolutely. All right, let's start with the vitals, as usual. Okay, it looks like they're holding steady since yesterday's setback. The charts are indicating pretty gradual elevation of blood pressure, currently sitting at 133/92, looks like.
Yeah, it's really to be expected, considering his age and time he spent in these insanely harsh conditions.
I agree. Thankfully, this journey is almost over. All right, heart rate is at 68 BPM. That's fine. Respiratory rate, 22 breaths per minute. All right, looks like we're still in the clear. Moving on, I have those updated AT projections I mentioned yesterday. Just gonna check this out real quick. Oh, fuck.
What? What are we looking at now?
Well, apparently last night you were wrong about the pain in his foot subsiding enough to allow for REM sleep.
No. I double-checked all the pain levels and anything pertinent for my conclusion.
Well, it says here he experienced some pretty restless sleep. I mean, so if it wasn't that, I don't know what it could be. I mean, usually sleeping adequately isn't a problem for Asher.
Or just another side effect of this stupid fucking journey we're on.
Don't even start with that bullshit right now, Demir. I'd really appreciate if you keep your pessimistic attitude to yourself for once. I mean, we might have a real problem now. Hey, the lack of REM sleep combined with the time lost from his injury, I mean, it set us back dramatically.
You've been sufficiently screwed since day one. Should have listened.
Okay. We can spend all day arguing what ifs, but it's not going to get us out of this current situation. These projections are saying we won't even make it till the end before nightfall on the third day. I mean, it's looking at an arrival time now of 7:30 on the next day. Fuck me.
Well, that's it then. Let's just wrap this up and regroup.
No, sir. We're gonna continue on the path we started. To turn around now, I mean, Asher's soul would not only be crushed, but the accessory damage that such a traumatic decision would have on his psyche. I mean, think about it.
This is turning into a suicide mission. When this all comes crashing down, don't say I didn't warn you.
Duly noted. There is, however, a silver lining here. Well, Asher doesn't know.
You just run that by me and tell me how that's a good thing.
Yeah. He's completely unaware of the amount of time he's lost and the energy he sacrificed by not sleeping well enough. But if he doesn't know how far behind schedule he is, he won't even consider giving up. Your move, Demura.
taking into account the extremely isolated sightings of any animals, and the fact that rats are teetering on the edge of extinction with other species, those odds are truly staggering. Unbelievable.
Where is your faith? When there is need, God is more than capable of providing. The energy from that meat might be enough to counterbalance his lack of REM sleep. We might still be able to get back on track. I knew there would be something in that trap this morning. I just wasn't sure what.
The level of misguided hubris you display is sickening. Of course, that was an unexpected catch, but I would hardly call such a thing an act of God.
Oh, great. It's exactly what we need right now.
So where the fuck is your God now, huh, Barry? I certainly don't see him.
Oh, he's definitely here. He's just not confined to these walls like you and I are. And you just refuse to see him, sir.
That sounds a hell of a lot like a cop-out. Like a pre-tailored rebuttal to a sound argument. I'm gonna go check the breaker box.
Okay.
I could have sworn I asked you to schedule a maintenance inspection weeks ago.
Well, I had planned on it, but I just didn't think anything like this would ever happen. I mean, it certainly never has before.
We're enough to start the backup generator.
Okay.
But I'm holding you personally responsible if anything happened while the power was off.
Hey, fair enough. That's just fine. I mean, I'm sure nothing happened. We're gonna be okay.
Here it goes.
Thank God that worked.
You should be thanking me, not God. If I hadn't had the foresight to install that backup generator when I asked you to schedule a maintenance inspection, you'd be royally fucked right now.
Okay, well, look, I apologize, all right? This was clearly an important issue that I overlooked. I'm sorry. I think I could have one of those cigarettes. Hey, another thing. Who's to say that God didn't influence you to have that generator installed?
Believing in a God 50 years ago, that was one thing. Especially the kind of God this fucking book of nonsense describes. But once the bodies started piling up, I find it hard to think that the survivors could rationalize the fact that their loving God would allow for the destruction of the entire human race.
All right, wait, stop right there. See, you presume to believe that the entire human race is going extinct. You're basing that assumption on the tiny part of this planet that we have any personal knowledge of. How can you be so confident that others couldn't survive the same way Asher did? And you're basing your disbelief in God on the fact that he could possibly allow all these innocent people to die. But that's probably not the case.
You want to just take a moment to reflect on how Asher had the fortune or possible misfortune of surviving that little apocalypse?
Really? Damn it, Demure. I find it completely unnecessary to relive the past, as you intend to do. Besides, it's a complete waste of our time and resources.
Of course, yeah, you and all your naivety would have issue with dissecting the past when it has so much to bear on the current situation.
No, I just think that too much critique of the past can negatively affect the future. But you know what? Go ahead, continue with what you're doing. I'll show you the record.
Asher Saenz, the youngest of 12 children, born in the year 2082. God damn it! You're gonna read this shit.
Demure, you know there is no way I'm touching that fucking folder.
You're gonna read this or else I walk out that fucking door right now. You know what that could mean.
Asher Saenz, youngest of 12 children, born in the year 2082 on the 33rd day of December, at least according to the extended calendar. He was born into one of the most radical branches of the fundamentalist Mormon faith. In 1844, the original high priest Eleazar claimed to be the only surviving child of the Mormon Church's original founder, Joseph Smith. This belief held by Eleazar created a rift in the Mormon Church that was further exploited when ritualistic practices came to light. The most shocking of these rituals was incestuous relationships that produced children with birth defects that were offered up as human sacrifices at a yearly ritual called the cleansing. All right, enough. Past events like this, past atrocities hold no bearing on the event. History like this should be buried away so deep never exposed.
Do not bury the past. Do not just lock it up and hope it's never exposed. You cannot live your life in a fucking fairy tale. Only true way to be free is to expose all those dark memories from the deepest corners of your mind, where fear is living, waiting like a snake, slithering, biding its time for the right moment to strike and poison your soul forever. Now sit down! I'm gonna finish reading this.
Fine. At least give me a goddamn cigarette. They excommunicated Eleazar and his followers from the church. Barely escaping the wrath of the Mormons, they fled to the westernmost corner of Texas in the Trans-Pecos region. They bought close to 250,000 acres, and it just so happened to be on a giant copper deposit. Mining copper for years, they became very wealthy. They built a compound there. They were very good at keeping outsiders out to continue their sick rituals. Eleazar died in 1891, but not before he made his only son the next high priest. The church continued much as it had for the next 100 years. By 1991, the population of this community held steady at 200 men, women, and children. However, they did stop expanding their compound now. Instead of building outward, they built down, creating an elaborate underground city to hide their existence. Even all of their food was grown underground in advanced greenhouses and animal enclosures. But the city of El Paso, it appears, was encroaching on their community. So the current High Josephus and some of his closest followers planned to the meltdown of El Paso's nuclear power plant, which they succeeded in doing and killed over 300,000 people. The El Paso area was then virtually uninhabitable for the next 100 years, providing perfect cover for them to remain undiscovered. So, looks like they continued to live that way for many years as they had. But when the virus infected and killed the majority of mankind in 2083, they were safe in their underground city. Josephus did eventually die at the old age in, 2095? At the age of 126. Evidently, there was a power struggle between Josephus' son and the grandson, which both died in some violent confrontation. It was determined that the next closest living relative should wear the high priest's robes. That person was the first cousin of Josephus' grandson. That 13-year-old boy was Asher Saenz. See? Never give up hope, Demure. God will continue to provide for Asher just like he always has.
What you see as providence, I see as self-reliance. For example, what Asher had to have when he became high priest at the age of 13, he discovered a cache of documents in the high priest's chambers that dated all the way back to the founding of the church. He hid away for days and told the church he was praying for guidance, but in actuality, he was really uncovering the truth about the real world. He also found an original King James Bible. It was full of notes that Eleazar had made to rewrite huge portions of it to fit his beliefs. Asher immediately stopped the killings and incest in the year 2097 and led a group of 88 survivors to the surface.
Well, look, I appreciate the history lesson, Demure, I really do, but this in no way affects, relegates, disproves the supernatural influence on Asher's life at all. God clearly guided his steps from the moment he put his faith in the Bible. That's it.
No, what I've shown you here today is a factual account of a group of survivors. Nothing I just read to you was supernatural.
In faith, there is enough light for those who want to believe and enough shadows to blind those who don't. Just think about that.
Are you trying to tell me that God chose to save some of the sickest, depraved individuals on the planet? All those other people on the surface, where was he when they began to die?
I cannot presume to know the will of God, okay? I can't explain why or how all those things happen. But what I can explain, what I can know for sure, is that all those things happened for a reason. God alone can determine the fate of men. God alone knows the time and date for each man to die, and afterwards comes the judgment.
Oh, so only your God can determine a man's fate. Mankind has no say over his own destiny? If that's what you think, you're horribly mistaken, my friend. If mankind has no say over his own will, then what the fuck are we here for?
appears it's that time again, my friend. Would you like to continue our game where we left off yesterday?
After you, Revere. Your move, am I correct?
Yes, I believe it is. Your move. Now that was a very foolish move. Your unwillingness to commit to your strategy has placed me within a hair's breadth of your king. When weighing risk versus reward, never underestimate the possible ramifications of an unclear objective. Check.
What may appear to be short-sightedness or failure can always lead to greater reward. Check.
Well, it would appear I've underestimated you. Your deceitful tactic is to be commended. Bravo. I believe it's your turn. Deathly afraid of heights.
This is our only fucking job to plan for the unexpected. Now we're here and he's there, thanks to you!
Alright, enough! Do we have a damage report?
Yeah, I got it.
Well, let's start with the vitals. How bad are we off? Come on.
This is not good.
Mr. Demure, the vitals! Come on!
Okay, heart rate is severely elevated, 112 BPM. Blood pressure is dropping rapidly, reading at 109 over 73. Hypertension is setting in due to hemorrhaging. We have serious levels of internal bleeding due to several cracked ribs. In addition, Asher appears to have suffered a severe concussion with potential bleeding on the brain.
Oh my god, this is not happening. This is not happening. This is not happening. This is not fucking happening right now.
That's not
It's
all.
Not fucking
That's
happening
not all.
right.
The head trauma appears to be affecting his vision, and he has a broken foot.
All right. What I want you to do is we're gonna focus on the internal bleed. I want you to run a probabilities report on the odds of seeing the levels of blood loss diminish significantly enough to continue. Just enough to continue.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious.
We have a laundry list of problems here, and you're talking about fucking continuing? This is over. It was over before it started.
I am not gonna ask you again, Mr. Demure. Run the report. Give me a goddamn cigarette.
I already ran the report.
What does it say then?
I think you better look it up for yourself.
I don't think I want to. Miraculous. Do my ears deceive me?
Not in the sense you believe. More so, miraculous in a man's determination and fortitude, even in the most devastating conditions.
But from where might a man find such superhuman strength of will, if not from the Creator?
From deep within his own body, from deep within his own mind. But regardless of source energy, this journey has only one outcome.
There's always hope. There's always a chance, no matter how small, that he can survive and he can finish this journey that he started. That he can find his daughter and he will live to tell the tale.
You saw the report. The odds of survival are next to nothing at this point. Why doesn't he just give up?
Next to zero is not the same as zero. 1% of a percent of a percent is worth fighting for, my friend.
There is no wisdom. Only foolishness and impending doom. Your words are sweet on the tongue and tickle ears, but hold little substance.
This is coming from a man who would easily settle for a life much less than he is capable of living. From a man who fears the unknown almost as much as he fears himself.
Fear has no sway in the minds and no death. And its sting. Ourselves at last. At journey's end. The game is nearly up.
A moment, in the eyes of some, can be a lifetime in the eyes of others. Check.
How will you play these last few moves? Will you make one final desperate attempt to change the river's current?
Rarely are there ever only two choices, two possible outcomes to a story of struggle.
Or will you last concede defeat and disappear into the night?
When one limits oneself solely to the understanding within, one may fail entirely to see the bigger picture, the larger forces at play.
seeing this? These vitals are showing signs of complete organ shutdown. His blood pressure is so low it's reaching critical levels. How the fuck did we let this happen?
There's nothing we could have done to prevent this, okay? This is not negligence on our part. Look, despite our best intentions, there are just some things even we can't predict, and that's just how it is.
But there is one thing we can predict.
Whoa. Hold on a second now. Demure? Hold on a second. Demure, what good is knowing what's in that file gonna do now? None.
We need to start preparing for the end. And knowing what's in this file is necessary to make proper arrangements.
Just wait. He's experiencing almost total organ failure. Can't you just leave this one alone? Can't you just let it go?
Sorry, but who the fuck are you?
I'm employed by the company responsible for the maintenance of these buildings. I'm sure you're both aware this building on Lot D, reference 200621, has been condemned for some time.
What? Condemned? This is outrageous. This is the first I've ever heard of this. Aren't you people required to give some kind of notice before you condemn a building?
But we did. Over the last several months, we have sent multiple notifications and even conducted an on-site evaluation. I'm sorry, but the time has passed.
Building's not condemned. There's nothing wrong with it.
Sir, this building is structurally unsafe. The support columns have begun to crack. For Christ's sakes, the ceiling leaks. Have there been power outages as well?
Well, yeah, actually, now that you mention it, there have been a couple of
Actually, I don't know what he's talking about.
Gentlemen, this is strictly a formality. Decision's been made and you were given ample notice. Now I suggest you pack up your things and evacuate the building. Because by day's end, the structure will be reduced to a pile of rubble.
Where's the grand design? Where's the grand design? All this bitterness and loss. Not in a million years could I have foreseen such a disastrous ending for us.
What have I always told you? You cannot live your life blindly, unwilling to acknowledge the reality of loss. You've lived your life through rose-colored lenses. This world can be a cruel, unforgiving place, full of danger and grief and death.
I think I can almost see that now. The world can be a hopeless place at times.
When I would offer my advice, I didn't do so out of stubborn pride. I did so out of my inherent desire to protect us and Asher from every danger around every corner. I foresaw this ending 100 different ways. I saw the curtain close before our time. I saw the stage engulfed in flames before the final act had finished. For us, there shall be no grand goodbye, no final bow.
Our time may be short, but we still have some before the clock strikes and that final curtain falls. If that curtain is to be engulfed in flames, smoke just as black as night, so be it. If our end is to be a death of reckless faith, then I say embrace it! I believe it was your turn.
So it is. Check. So this is the end. Asher will never find his daughter, even if he continues till his lungs give out. He'll probably give up soon and let himself die in peace.
Asher Saenz will continue till the bitter end. He's entered a state of delirium where he believes his daughter to be waiting for him atop a hill off in the distance. If my guess is correct, he'll begin climbing that hill shortly. In his eyes, reaching the summit of that hill is the completion of his cross, of his journey of faith. And there he will find peace.
No. He will give up. He'll finally see how pointless this has all been. He'll accept the guilt for leaving his daughter. He'll never climb that hill. He'll never find peace. And he won't complete this so-called cross.
He left her because he thought he'd been exposed to that fucking virus. He left her to protect her. It wasn't even until recently that he knew he wasn't going to die from it. That's why he promised her he would come back in 10 years when he was sure.
No, He left the most precious blessing he ever had. And he is solely responsible for whatever horrible demise comes to her. He was a damn fool, and he will die of regret and the pain of loss.
He did what he had to do to protect her. He believed that God would care for her and bring them back together. He made a promise to Gabrielle, and in his dying, delirious mind, the completion of that promise is to reach that final hill. I imagine even now he begins to climb, even if it means it might cost him the final moments of his life.
It's all in vain. Your fucking God, his fucking God, your faith in all this bullshit nonsense. All this superstitious insanity has led us. I, for one, enough! Asher will never make it to the hill before he dies. He will turn and fall and finally give up on this madness.
That is where you've been forever wrong, Mr. Demure. It's through faith that we've even come this far. It is Asher's faith that will decide the day. He knows the right thing to do and does it. He made a promise and he will keep it. He started this cross. He will finish it.
He will die. He will never reach that summit. He will never keep his promise, and he'll never finish the cross!
As long as there is blood within his veins, as long as his eyes can see the light before him and his feet refuse to fail, as long as there is breath within his body, he shall never, ever turn his back upon the cross! Ever!
Where the hell do you think you're going?
I refuse to sit idly by a moment longer! His greatest trial is at hand. Come on, Asher! We can do this together!
Stop fighting, Asher. You'll never find her, and you'll never hold her again. You failed your daughter, and you failed yourself. Ever since the day you left Gabrielle, you knew you would never see her again. You came all this way for nothing.
Doesn't have to be this way, Demure. Doesn't have to end like this.
No, this is exactly how it was intended to. Ever since we climbed up to the surface all those years ago, we've been met with nothing but death and despair and loss.
No, your mind is clouded, Demure. It's clouded by years of banishment in this wilderness. But it wasn't always this way, was it?
You know, it's funny when you think about it. These might really be the last beers on Earth.
Well, I'm glad you had the foresight to save these for such a momentous occasion.
To tell you the truth, I'm pretty glad I did too. There were so many times that I would look into the future and foresee very bleak prospects for us. With the world in its current state of decay, I find it sometimes hard to believe that there's still hope.
Even still, despite all the trials life has thrown at us, we never gave up. We carry on. Not solely for the purpose of survival, but for that longing desire of a better tomorrow. And with her birth, today is that tomorrow.
Never in my life have I seen such a beautiful child. And look at Asher. It's a perfect piece that he now radiates. What an incredible moment to become a father. It's as if the whole world holds its breath.
The birth of a child can wipe away all the worries in the world, all the fears and the pain and the bitterness, the self-doubt. It all just fades away. And to think, were it not for your foresight to save these beers, despite all the struggles we've been through to survive all these years, we may not be able to savor this moment just like we are right now.
Mr. Riveri, I couldn't agree more. You're right. It wasn't always this way. But those days are gone now. And this is the way it has to be.
No! We can't let him die like this. That one was so close.
No! He died!
Darn you!
Should our acquaintance be forgotten ever to man? Should our acquaintance be forgotten on Lane's End? For old Lane's End, my dear, for old Lane's End, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for old Lane's End. 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 Should our acquaintance be forgotten, never brought to mind? Should all acquaintance be forgotten, all Lane's End? For old Lane's End, my dear, for old Lane's End, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for